suck at shooting when you have to try to go fast and move. Being able to shoot in a range at paper is a totally different game than when you're on a clock and trying to go fast.
Everybody, this is the Ultimate Hobbyist. This is going to be episode number 3, and we're already having our first guest. Brian is a good buddy of mine from the military. We've been in the same unit for a long time until about the last 4 or 5 years when I went on to do officer things that didn't work out. But I thought I'd have him on because he is the guy that I text when I have gun questions, and he texts me when he has things he likes to show off. So it's great. So, Brian, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, man?
All right, like you said, my name is Brian Stuart. I've been in the military, Daniel, for 10 plus years now. We both love shooting guns, and I started shooting competitions probably 6 or 8 years ago. And it started off with pistol stuff, and it evolved into 3-gun and precision rifle stuff and building guns, and pretty much everything branched out from there. But I mean, we started shooting for a while, and then he kind of moved away, and now we're kind of in the point of where we're trying to get stuff to go shoot together, same days a matchup, and it seems like it never does, but we'll get there one day.
What's funny is that Brian and I have talked each other into buying all the 3-gun stuff. We share the ownership of a shotgun. We're co-parents of a shotgun that's built for 3-gun. I've never fired a round through it. And I don't know that he has either.
Neither have I. So I still have the ammo that the guy gave me with the gun.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, that was that kind of sucked because our local shooting range that we go to, once we got all of our gear to where we were able to actually compete, relatively well with what we had, they stopped having matches, and they haven't had matches since. So driving to these 3-gun matches has kind of become a strain, and it's not really worth, going 4 hours to go shoot a match in the morning. So
yeah, it makes it, especially the cost of everything right now, right? For the last really 2 years, the cost of things have been skyrocketing, and hell, I can barely afford deer hunting ammo, much less, hey, let me go burn this 200 rounds of each type, and it just kind of gets crazy. But man, I appreciate you joining me tonight. I know it was kind of a last minute thing. We both had to wait on our dinner to get done, and Samantha lied and said my potatoes were baked, and they weren't. I'm a barbecue chicken potato guy. Like, that's my
that sounds delicious.
Smoked chicken about 3 days ago, and then just added some barbecue and put it on a baked potato. But so I've had my favorite meal for the evening, so it's going to be a great recording night, I'm sure. So I'd like to first hear about your very first competition shoot. Doesn't matter if it was rifle or pistol or 3-gun or whatever. I would just like to hear just walk through it for a person who's never been. Kind of what can they expect, and how did it go?
Okay, so I had a buddy that I worked with at Chili's back in like 2014, and he was big into competition pistol shooting. He was sponsored by a local range here, H&H in the city, and like they paid for his ammo and trips and stuff like that. So I text him that I bought a Glock, and this is on probably a Tuesday, and I bought a Glock 17 because I shot one at the range. I'd never shot one. Everybody said that, you either love them or hate them. So I shot one, and I felt like I didn't miss a shot the entire time I shot it. So I went and bought one. He responds with, "There's a match on Saturday. Let's go." So I have this gun that I've got probably 100 rounds through, And I'm going into this competition. I don't have a holster for it. He gave me everything I needed to borrow, a couple of extra magazines. He had 2 mag carriers that I borrowed so I could hold 4 magazines, and I borrowed a pistol, holster, I mean. And I learned that I suck at shooting when you have to try to go fast and move. And it's not being able to shoot in a range at paper is a totally different game than when you're on a clock and trying to go fast. And what happens is you actually are so worried about going fast, you end up going extremely slow because you're missing 5 or 6 shots on one target. And the guy next to you hit 3 shots in the 1 second that it took you to realize that you missed it. So, but I mean, those guys are all really cool. If you ever want to go shoot a pistol competition or anything like that, the best thing is probably to get on Facebook and find your local like range Facebook page. And all the gun guys that I know are all about showing off their gear. So it's like, I love this gear. It's cool. Let me show you why it's cool. Please use it, kind of thing. So I've
That
got,
that's
I've
exactly
got,
every guy at every shoot out there. There's no one that's like, no, I paid thousands for this gun. You can't touch it. No, it's like, no, please help me make it last less, like shorter amount of time. Please shoot this.
like it's a big thing to identify the new shooters at matches. At every single match that I've ever been to, if there's a new shooter, they identify them, and the people that have been shooting those competitions kind of like, keep an eye on them, make sure they're not doing anything safety related is a big thing. But then at the same time, it's like, hey, help them out if they need anything. If they run out of ammo, like, hey, here's some extra ammo that I brought or anything like that.
Yep.
And that's what happened to me. I brought 200 rounds and I ran out of ammo before I finished the last stage, and somebody gave me an extra magazine to finish the match with.
That's awesome.
But I mean, it's like for me now, I have 3 different setups that I could run in a competition. So if I have any buddies that want to go shoot, I have stuff that they can borrow and they can just bring ammo and I can hook them up and we can go shoot a match if they think that they might like it.
Yep.
So, and
So
almost every one of those guys is the same way.
my first time shooting competition was with you, I believe, at Arcadia, right? That's the range we went
Yep.
to.
Mm-hmm.
I know it has a name probably besides Arcadia.
Oklahoma City Gun Club.
There you go. Yeah, in Arcadia, Oklahoma. And it was a pistol only, and I shoot an M&P 2.0, and I shoot it in 40, which I've come to find is almost a useless round nowadays. But I bought it. I
Well,
love it. I carry
there's a
it.
caveat to that because that's a very common round in USPSA because that gets you into major power factor.
Right,
So a
without
lot of
all
people
the
will shoot that instead of 9.
right instead of all the kick of a 45, you kind of get a
Yeah.
yeah. So um, I can just like what you said, right? You're trying to go so fast, and you've probably not. Let's be honest. I didn't practice my reloads. I didn't dry fire for days. Like there's people that do a lot of stuff to get ready. Um, I don't have any special sights. It's just an iron sight weapon. It is what it is. I loved the gun, and I had hair on my face. It's very weird. Wives, man, they cover your hair
Yeah.
no matter what you're doing. Anyway, and just like you said, like you're just missing shot after shot. You're like, what? I see the target, aim at the target, pull the trigger, nothing. Like, what's
Yeah.
happening, right? And you gotta
Miss.
just go through it again, and you get to where you feel like you're in concrete. Then you're just going so slow, and then you sometimes you can and can't hit. And I mean, you identify a lot of different,
Yeah.
firing issues. If it's you, the weapon's probably right. I mean, you're probably not gonna outshoot your weapon, but maybe it isn't sighted in, right? There's a lot of questions that go into, especially when
Mhm.
you're mad and you can't hit anything. And then I remember that I got to one stage, I can't remember what it was, and I hit every single shot, like aced it, and just nice and slow and methodical, bang, 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 things fell. I was like, yeah, I'm a pro. Let's go. I'm not a pro, but but it was fun to hit everything. Actually, actually was in a flag football league. This entire podcast is about hobbies, and flag football was one of mine for a while, trying to stay fit.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I was in a league, and some guy had threatened me for no reason. I didn't really do anything. He was on the team, he was off the team, he was on the team, and then he was threatening people, so they kicked him off again. And I had sent the video. Someone, I think you recorded that, hit every shot stage I had, and I actually
Hmm.
sent it to them, and I just remember that they all just thought it was so badass, and I was like, that is the slowest round probably
Yeah.
anybody shot all day. But they were like, I can't believe anybody would fuck with you. Like, ah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
awesome.
so crazy.
How dare that guy try to fight you? And I was like, well, this is a competitive shoot, but whatever,
He's like, I got dead last by a lot this day,
man.
but we don't have to tell anybody
All
that.
right. No, I didn't say a word of that. I'm not going to. Luckily, I did end up going to Missouri to a what is one of the most Missouri something steel tactical. I don't know what it is. Anyway, one of their shooting leagues. I went to one range, drove forever, uh, and I did really bad. I wasn't last. I wasn't even in the bottom third probably. But
Mhm.
my rifle is a Tikka T3X CTR, so compact tactical. I shoot 6.5 Creedmoor. That's my hunting rifle. That's my competitive shooting rifle. I mean, I do everything with it. Um, I have the HST Vortex on it, so it's not top of the line. It's not even for competitive. I mean, it's literally like hunter shooting tactical or something. That's what HST stands
Yeah.
for. It is not about being precision, but it works.
Hmm.
Um, And I mean, I did really well there. I had issues with my gun. It got like almost dry. Like I couldn't. It got really stiff and hard to reload. Like there was issues that I was like, okay, this is not something I had foreseen happening. Right. I'm
Right.
not a heavy lube guy on my rifle or any even in the military. Right. I don't
Yeah.
unless it's the 50. And I'll forever remember a certain E7 telling me, "Mama likes it sloppy." Right.
Yeah.
That's the weapon you
Mark
have to.
Mark 19 is the thing that I slotted up. The
Yeah.
freaking
You.
with the LSAT.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
If
you
it's
have
not
to.
dripping, you're wrong.
That's right. Those two weapons for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it's not leaking all over you, you've done something wrong. But I shoot my weapons fairly dry and then just kind of let carbon be a glide. But that round or that match, it was not the case. I don't know if it was a heat deal. I don't know. I don't. Maybe it was me. I just didn't realize. But it got very
Yeah.
hard to run that bolt. But I was with some guys that were very good. And like
Yeah.
you said, that it was almost. I mean, it was the first timer. Number one, it was my first time. They even offered me to like not time my shoots. Like, do you just want to be a true beginner and we won't time you. You just hit everything as slow as you need to get confidence. I was like, hell
Hmm.
no, come on. I'd rather lose than not be in the running, right? Like I'd rather be last.
Yeah.
So, but I ran the whole stage. It was great, all day shoot. I hit 1,100 yards. I hit 900 yards with like consistency. I think I missed at like 500 and 700.
Yeah.
Like I missed some shots that I'm like, which
Yeah.
that's a long ways, man. That's a really long shot.
Yep.
But
Those
to hit
are
1,100,
normally the
that was
harder shots, which is the crazy part.
right. Yeah.
Like
That
normally the long ones, you're prone and it's a big target. And
yeah,
you're like,
12
man,
by
that's
12 I
1,100
think was my
yards.
1,100. It was a 12-inch by 12-inch plate and drove it home. I mean, I caught myself doing things like I would be a full, you have to change your elevation knob
Oh
and
yeah.
I would
Being a
be a
full
full
turn off.
rotation off. And so,
Yep.
yeah, I'm like shooting in the dirt, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I don't know. And after two or three, because I was a beginner, a guy would be like, "Hey, you're too far. Like, drive that thing home, and then bring it back up." And so I would, and I'd be a full rotation off. So there's things that happen on your first trip.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so uh, go ahead.
I was gonna say you were talking about how good some of the guys were. I actually was shooting a 2 day match earlier this spring or last spring now. That I actually had to leave from. I only got to shoot probably 4 or 5 stages of it because Lacey was extremely sick. She came down with something that morning whenever she woke up and I had to leave. But it was a national level 2 day match. Like it was for national points to go to the national shooting competition that year for the
Right.
NRL. And the first 3 stages, all of them are 10 rounds. So you have a total of 30 points. And I'm pretty sure that I got a total of 9 hits. And the 8 guys that I was with, not a single one of them dropped a shot, not one miss. I had 21 misses, and all 8 guys in my squad did not miss a single target on those
Yeah.
stages.
And we're not bad shooters, you and I.
Like,
Like,
it's crazy,
yes.
like how good some of these guys are.
Yeah.
And like I shoot. a 308 because that's what I had. I bought a Tika. I'm actually the one that talked Daniel into buying his, and but I bought it before the 6.5 Creedmoor really blew up and was huge and was the big thing. You couldn't really find it local, manufactured ammo. So I've just shot that because it's what I had. And I've done well with it, but you're at a huge disadvantage. There's way more recoil, there's way more wind drift, stuff like that. But it's just funny going in there and shooting this 308, and these guys have scopes that are worth more than cars that I've paid for, and they're
Right.
just absolutely destroying you. And
There's
they could
people up there that
probably destroy
everything
that
is
with my
custom.
rifle too. But yeah, everything. Like,
I mean, you're like, what kind of gun is that? And he's like, which part?
yeah,
Because
exactly.
the stock is one brand, the bolt is a brand, the trigger's a brand, the barrel's a brand.
Hmm.
Like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I don't care that much. I don't know those names. Those sound expensive. Like, there's a guy there
Yep.
with a $10,000 barrel,
Yeah.
just the barrel. And I'm like,
Yep. I
what?
believe it.
My gun cost 1,000, Bob.
Yeah.
And
Which is
that was a
pretty
lot.
crazy because how fast you shoot out barrels is pretty insane. Like $600, give or take $100, is pretty normal to get a barrel like spun up, cut, and threaded for what you need for
Right.
your action and whatever it is. So, and some of these rounds are only, they shoot them so fast and so hot, they shoot the throat out, right where the rifling starts in the chamber. They shoot that out so fast, you might only get 1,200 rounds. And some of these guys, between practicing, that might be 3 months.
Yeah.
You shoot 100 rounds a week and then you shoot 200 rounds in a match. That's
I
only 3 months
assuming the
with a
guy
barrel.
was sponsored by the company. I'm sure he didn't pay 10 grand for a barrel.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And
Or
I
it's an
think he said
MSRP
his
thing.
total rig was between 15 and 18,000. And
Yeah.
that's scope, which I can't remember if he had a Night Force or if he had a Vortex scope. I think he was the guy. He had a Vortex, just like the Razor, and I think it was Gen 2 at the time was the bad one. He
Oh
had
yeah.
the ultimate one.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm sure he cut corners elsewhere to make his ultimate rig, but still, Jesus Christ, man,
Yeah.
that's insane. Anyway, so we're done talking first competition stories. I really want to talk about why you do it. Why is competitive shooting? What drew you in? I mean, you told the guy, said, "Hey, show up to this match." So was it just the how much fun you had? Is it for the
Yeah, I think it's
military? Like,
just
why do you keep doing it?
I grew up constantly in competition. I played baseball, I played football, I played soccer, I ran track, I played golf. Like I was always in a sport playing competition. A lot of those I can't play anymore. My back hurts too bad to play basketball. You can play flag football, but it's not football. You know what I mean? I don't like soccer anymore because I'm too fat to run that much. And then you got like softball leagues, which are Thursday night beer leagues kind of thing. It's just not the same. So you kind of lust for that competition. And there is so much that goes into just shooting a pistol. Like you think that it's just pulling a trigger, but it's like, well, no, you have to learn how to draw the pistol fast. You have to learn how to reload fast. You have to learn how to move, and you have to plan the stage, because you might have 7 targets on this side and you have 23 on this side. Well, you have to plan a reload in there somewhere, and just depending on where it is and moves, it's just the whole everything about it, from planning the stage of how you're going to shoot it to just being out there in competition, going fast, seeing targets drop. And then when you have a crappy day, it just adds fuel to the fire that you're like, man, I haven't been dry firing, I haven't been shooting, I haven't been training. And then like you go out there and shoot like ass. And I mean, it just totally refuels you again to go out and start practicing and get better. But I mean, it's just, I think it's just competition in general for me. I like to compete. I like being good at stuff. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be fishing, it could be cooking. Like I just strive to be good. So,
We'll definitely bring you back on the meat sweats episodes because we're
oh
gonna
yeah.
we're gonna have some. But so there's your little foresight. If you're listening to the podcast and you're new, we will have the meat sweats episodes where we would just talk about nothing but smoking meat, and it'll be amazing. Um, so I really think that competitive shooting it's been on my radar, and I've definitely wanted to do it more. I would say that it is a hobby I do because I've got the stuff to do it, but I've been to
Hmm.
less than 5 events. And you're right, like it is hard, and that competitive nature is there for sure. Like that's definitely
Hmm.
a big part of it. I think I get a lot of that competitive nature fulfilled with football. So being a football coach, I'm already having to compete to be the best coach, right? Because number
Right.
one, you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta make your kids competitive. I know it's only 10 to whatever 14 or 15 games. I guess I've been to the playoffs once as a coach. It was a play in Oklahoma did for COVID year. Everyone got in, but um, yeah, it's I kind of get that part knocked out there. So it's less the competition against the other people. It's really a test of myself. I
Yeah.
would definitely say the military is part of it, right? Like I value being a resource, and so if I'm going to a company level shoot or we're gonna go to the range for the day and try to get everybody zeroed. I value being someone that people come to and be like, hey, I'm doing bad at this. Help me out. And I can go, that's literally elementary to me because I do
Yes.
such a higher level of that. I don't want to get so good that I can't talk to those people anymore, right? Not in stature, but in knowledge. Like I am so honed in that I can't remember what your simple trigger squeeze is about or your sight picture, like those, the
Right.
buzzwords we use. So I would say that's why I do any kind of competitive shooting. And to be honest, hunting is where I'm at. That's probably one of my biggest hobbies. And so um, the scope I have, I bought for competitive shooting, and it is awesome at hunting. That HST, if
Mhm.
you're looking for a great hunting scope, that's where it's at right there. The Vortex HST is everything you need. I've hit deer at 300 plus yards, and there's people that say that's inhumane. You shouldn't take that shot, and I'm like, well, I can hit it. So
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
question, like that, I have
Hard
zero
shot
doubt.
and distances are relative.
Right, exactly.
So,
So that is something that I very much so can hit, and it's because of the competitive shooting. So once again, it just opens me up. I have really considered getting into a competitive archery league. My father-in-law said he used to shoot. That's what got him into bow hunting. Was
mhm.
he did archery competitions first, and then took it to the field for a hunting craft. This past year showed me that I have so much to learn in archery. So um, getting out there and using my bow and shooting it one, two, 300 times a week and getting accurate at everything out to whatever 65 yards, which I will not ever pull on a deer at 65. You know what I mean? But um, getting accurate at that range is awesome. And there's the YouTube videos and stuff you can watch of who's it, Cameron Haynes. When he's hitting them at like
Yeah.
85 yards, he's knocking down an elk. And I'm like,
Yep.
how fast is his arrow going? Because
Yeah. He practices at 160 yards on like a mule deer target,
yeah,
and it's so far that he uses a spot hog single pin,
hmm
and his pin is like this, and he puts a mark of paint all the way down here just above his bubble level, and that's where he knows where to shoot at. It's not even a part of the sight, like it's not a
no, I
fiber
think
optic or anything.
the furthest you can get on this, I shoot a spot hog single pin.
Hmm.
Well, it's actually I think it's a triple. It's got three lines there, but it's a single pin.
Yeah.
Um, maybe it's two. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, and I think mine will go to like 110, and I think you can buy versions that go to like 120.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's laying it out there, and that is just absolutely wild. Anyway, just watching stuff like that, just people who are really good at something, the best that there might be on, well, on Earth, in the world. I don't know. Um, so that's why I do competitive shooting. It's just to try to chase those guys a little bit, stay good for the military, be a resource for people who are new, and just challenging myself, I think. So the last segment I want to talk about here is I want to talk about shooting rigs. Like, what's your weapon setup? What's your rig setup? Why do you use those the way you do? And then what kind of future plans do you have for either your rigs or your weapons or just competitions in general?
Okay. I'll go ahead and start off with pistol because that's where I started competition at. I started with a Glock 17, and I bought I think it's a double alpha belt. It's like a two piece style belt. It's a piece of Velcro that goes through your belt loops, and then it's a hard, rigid plastic thing with Velcro back, and it goes on the outside. And then I can't remember what the mag carriers are, but They're like a universal. They have little pieces that you can change out to make them fit multiple different kinds of magazines, single stack or double stack if you want to go shoot 1911 or something. And then I have my Glock 17, which at one point I had basically every modification you could do to it. I started with sights, and then I started doing trigger stuff because the springs are cheap. And then I found out that I ran into issues with that because you put a really light firing pin spring in there to make the trigger really light, you start getting light primer strikes. And I had one match. Luckily, the second stage, I was the first shooter. So whenever you're at a match, they normally rotate through first shooter. So like it'll start 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, the first person will shoot one, and then at stage two, the next person that shot second on the first stage will be up first, and the guy that went first goes to the bottom. So I ran to the store and I bought some um, just store bought ammo because I had loaded up my own rounds and I had accidentally bought Magnum pistol primers, and they have thicker cups, which gave me like primer strikes. So I got rid of all of that junk, all the springs, and went completely stock Glock trigger. I don't run any special springs or anything like that anymore. And I have a magwell and then some base extensions on the magazine. And that's what I run for it now. Um, I just recently got a battle belt set up. You can call it a war belt, battle belt, whatever you want. And it's really a combination of pistol and a rifle. And then you normally have like a dump pouch or something, or people put like flashlights or med kits or something. It's really just like a range belt, kind of like a do it all,
So
jack
that's
all trades thing.
it's your Batman belt. Can we just call it that?
Yes, essentially.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a Batman
Batman
belt.
belt.
Got it.
But that's my new thing that I got because I bought an M17, which is the Army's new pistol, because I'm I've been shooting these state level matches the last couple of years, and that match is in 2 weeks from now. So I've been dry firing a lot with that, but it's got Kiwi mag pouches on it is what they're called, and they're like a universal style with they've got like a piece of polymer in them that is basically just bowed out. So when you push it down in there, it kind of squishes it and has tension on it. So you can use it with whatever style magazine you want. And then the rifle mag is the same way. And then I have Safariland is like my favorite holsters now. I love their ALS system. They have the little thumb lock. I use them to carry just, out when I'm
Everyday
carrying a
concealed
gun.
carry.
And then I use them for competition now as well because the paddle holster used to be the big thing. The military had them and stuff like that. Well, they've ran into problems that when people were getting in like wrestling matches or whatever, fights, and they're on gravel, well, gravel rocks will get stuck behind that paddle and then you can't get your gun out. So they went away from that system because of that reason. And also people say like, oh, use your trigger finger, and then people are accidentally pulling the trigger. Like that doesn't really happen. Like you've seen videos of people doing it. It's because they have some hopped up competition 1911 that has a half-pound trigger and they bumped it when they pulled it out of the trigger, and then they blamed it on the holster.
Right.
Oh, it's the holster's fault. Like it's kind of one of those myths. But I'm really digging this pistol setup because I use the QLS system from Safariland, and it's a little lock that goes on the back of the holster. So I can quick change. So I can switch to my Glock 17 holster or my Glock 19 holster or my M17. And then all the other mag pouches are universal. So I can go from shooting one gun to shooting another gun, just with a click of that little QLS thing.
That's nice.
And I really like that about that. So
That's awesome. What
um,
rifle are you shooting nowadays?
they're all custom, like what we were talking about earlier,
What brand is
barrels
it? I don't.
BCM, all my AR-15s, the receivers are Air Precision. That's like my favorite bang for the buck receivers. You can get their blemish lowers and they discount them. So they're like $15 off or so. I just bought one a couple weeks ago. It's actually right here, the M4E1. And I think it was like $90 on sale. They're normally like 125 for that's like the higher grade one. I really like those because the bolt catch lever is a pain in the butt to put in. It's a roll
God,
pin
yes, it
normally.
is.
These ones have a set screw.
Yep.
So you just push that thing in there, and then you use an Allen wrench to screw it in, and you don't mess up your lower trying to hammer in that pin.
Because
So I buy
that's always
these
happens,
now.
right? You always scratch it
Yeah.
every time.
Yep. I put a ton of tape on it. It doesn't matter. I still scratch it. But so I started buying these. They're probably 20, 30 more bucks a piece, but not having to mess with that is worth it. And then they have a little bit tighter tolerances. The magwell's a little bit wider, and then the trigger guard is actually forged into the receiver. It's not a plastic or a little thin one. But I've got Palmetto State Armory barrels and stuff, and like I bought uppers from them. They're kind of like my favorite go-to thing right now because they can get you in the door on a build really cheap. They have deals right now for 420 bucks for everything you need minus the lower, and you can
Yeah,
ship that all to your house and then go buy a lower locally for 80 bucks, not pay an FFL fee, and then you have an AR-15 for $500.
yeah, it's
Like
pretty
you can't
awesome.
buy it that off the shelf.
No,
So
those deals are they're pretty legit, especially when looking
yeah.
at pistols and stuff. Right? We're always talking truck guns, and because I live out in the wilderness essentially,
Mhm.
and we're on the farm a lot, and so yeah, having a truck gun is absolutely a necessity. And I'm thinking an AR pistol might be the way to go.
Yeah, that's actually kind of like what my build that I'm looking forward to right now is. I actually that's what that lower is for. I bought a folding stock adapter already. I need to buy a pistol lower kit with the brace, and then I'm looking at buying a probably a 10.5 to a 12-inch 5.56 upper, and then probably like an 8 or 9 inch 300 blackout upper, and then I want to get suppressors or suppressor to run with those.
Right.
But more than likely, I'm probably going to buy two now. So
I don't know what the intelligence level is of someone who says I have suppressors on a podcast, but I do. So I lucked out. I have the ultimate wife, and she bought me a. It was a BOGO, so buy one get one on suppressor company. So thank you guys for putting that out there because man, did I need it. Well, I didn't know she was working in the background with Brian here to ensure that she got the right stuff. So she picked me
yeah,
up a couple suppressors. We're still waiting on them to come in. We got our stamps and everything. Our approval's done. I think like 4 weeks ago we were at. Wait a minute, I don't know when this podcast comes out. It's a problem with recording ahead. So from the time we recorded this, which is the 27th of February, we were like 4 weeks into a 4 to 6 week wait. So I'm hoping we're within 1 to 14 days of having that bad boy. So that'll be awesome to have, like you said. That's where it's at, and that's why I
yeah.
want a 300 blackout. I've never wanted one because I never thought I'd have a suppressor,
That
and
was
I'm
my
sure
thing.
they're
I
fun to
said
shoot
it's a
without it.
stupid round unless you buy a
Yes,
suppressor, and then it's awesome.
right, right,
If you've
right.
ever shot a subsonic anything with a suppressor on it, it is super cool. It's nothing like the movies, but it's a weird thing to be shooting at a dirt mound 100 yards and you can hear the bullet hit the dirt mound
Right.
because the crack is not as loud and it's
Yeah.
not echoing through the trees and stuff. So,
Yeah. So I'm pumped about that. I just really want to use a coyote gun, man. We have so many coyotes around here now.
yeah,
We've our turkey population went from we had 17 on the farm last year, wild turkey, and we had two this year is all we saw.
yeah,
I think the father-in-law said he may have seen a couple more since, but I watched two toms or a Jake and a Tom bumping around for all of deer season. So I'm hoping there's more than that out there. We didn't see anything else, but so we got to get rid of the coyotes, help our deer population stay very healthy, and help our turkey population kind of come back around. Anyway, all right. So I think we'll shut her down there, man. We've talked a lot about competition shooting. So if someone wants to get into competition shooting, what's the first three steps they need to do?
um, honestly, you could contact me if you watch this podcast, wherever it's posted, comment in the comments, and we'll see if we can get you set up with a local range. I've got a bunch of friends that I've met that live in neighboring states, Missouri, Kansas, Texas, and then a bunch of people in Oklahoma. More than likely, if you're somewhere close to there, I can find you a range to help you get set up, or I know a guy that can help you get set up.
What social media can people reach you at, Brian?
Facebook is the one that I'm on the most.
Okay.
Um, and I have an Instagram, but I don't really use it that much. So
So just Facebook, search Brian Stuart from Oklahoma. You'll probably find him. He's a big ginger. He's pretty hard to miss. My favorite redheaded friend. Sweet, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on with me tonight. This is the first of many. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this. It's just something.
Yeah, I think we will too.
It's just dumb. We just want to talk to people by talking to other people. So it's a lot of fun. So
That's cool. There's a lot of information up here that, gets stored away and you don't get to talk about it. My wife doesn't care about any of this crap,
So you and I can discuss it. We do anyway in text, so we might as well just put it on camera. And so this will be out on Spotify is already hosting our podcast. So you can get on there and hear our introduction now. Apple Podcasts, as of right now, this recording date, we're a week or so away from being on there. And we're on like 7 other carriers that I've never heard of, but they're out there. People listen to them. So it's on there, and then on YouTube, and I'll text you the YouTube channel. So if you're looking to find us on YouTube, it is going to be The Ultimate Hobbyist. I don't think we have a custom YouTube URL yet, so it's probably something crazy, but you can just YouTube The Ultimate Hobbyist, and then we're also on Twitter at Alt Hobbyist, ULTHOBBYIST. I didn't know how to spell hobbyist before I started this podcast, Brian. It was pretty funny. I thought it would be like...
I've been there.
HOBBIEST? Nah, I'm crazy. That would be...
Yeah, you ever change your sentence because you don't know how to spell a word?
Absolutely.
Writing somebody a card. Oh, I can't wait to see you for your birthday tomorrow. Next week.
Next week. Anyway, so appreciate it. We don't have a sponsor yet. This will be my sponsor section. So tonight it's going to be custom-made... Bloody Marys, because I did a Bloody Mary from scratch, and it's wonderful. I'll post that recipe in the show notes as well. All right, folks, thanks for joining us on this wild adventure. We will see you next time at The Ultimate Hobbyist.